Freedom, like true freedom, real inner freedom, is not something to attain. It's not something that is out there somewhere. Freedom is actually the very essence of your nature. It's always been. But the thing is, there's been beliefs that have been formed due to the conditioning that you experienced growing up that have kept you from seeing that and directly experiencing that inherent freedom that you are. And most of these beliefs have to do with not being enough, being unworthy, being unlovable. And the beliefs are formed from this perspective of, okay, something's happening to me. There's this rejection, this abandonment, like I said, typically as a child. And it's not life circumstances that actually form the beliefs within us. It's our interpretation of what's happening to us. It's our interpretation of the event, the situation, how we relate to life in that moment that then forms the limiting belief that keeps us from the inherent freedom that we are. So what happens is something transpires, something occurs, and what automatically happens in the human mind is that there's this meaning that's assigned to whatever happens to us, which is another idea that's just being formed in the mind, that things are happening to us. It's a perspective. But that paired with the assigned meaning that we give it is what actually creates the belief within us that then brings forth this inner suffering. And inner suffering is the storm, the clouds, the rain that prevents us from seeing the sun that's always shining. The sun that's always shining is your true nature, which is freedom, like I keep saying. There's no freedom to attain. It's not about becoming free someday or healed. You're already whole or whatever. There's all these different things that we get so conditioned to strive for and to perform for in order to attain a certain outcome. And that the very belief of separateness, which that's what that is, it's separation consciousness. That very belief is what keeps us in this hamster wheel of performance, and it's very exhausting to live that way. Very exhausting. But the good news, the truth, is that you don't have to do that anymore. Once you start seeing the truth and then knowing the truth, that is what leads you to the experience of the freedom that is, the peace that is, the fulfillment that is, the connection that is. All these things simply are abundance, love, joy, wholeness. All of these things are reality. They are the sun. It's always shining. We just are now looking at the clouds, which are the beliefs that have been formed due to our interpretation of things that have happened in our lives that are keeping us from that. And it all starts with seeing. It all starts with perspective because, honestly, I think that something that doesn't really get talked about enough is the power of presence. Your presence is the light of the world. And so when you bring your presence, your awareness, your consciousness into any kind of belief, that the presence is truth. It is the light. And so when it meets a belief that's existing in the dark, in the shadows of your subconscious, that belief, if it's false, dissipates very naturally on its own because it just can't survive in the presence of light, of truth. So it's not even about, I have to do all these mindset shifts or I have to reprogram. It's not about that at first necessarily. It's much more about simply bringing your awareness, your presence, your I amness, which is, if you sit with your presence, you'll notice that there's no judgment there. There's no fear. There's no anger. It's just the essence of unconditional love and acceptance and peace that surpasses all understanding. So when you go into these beliefs and you investigate them and you see that they're not true, they may have been real, they may have felt real because of what happened and how you saw it and how you interpreted it, but they were never true. Something can seem or feel real yet not be true, and that's the case with these different limiting beliefs. So as these things dissolve, as these clouds dissipate, all of a sudden, there's just your true nature. And this is something that's been coming up a lot. People have been saying, they've been asking me, how do I find my purpose? Or what am I supposed to be doing? What's my mission? And honestly, I don't even know. I mean, that word purpose it's a tricky one. And people have different understandings and definitions, I guess, and different philosophies on how to discover it. But to be honest with you, I don't even know what that even means necessarily. I don't know. I just haven't really been using it a lot, because the way I see it is this. And I guess this is my understanding now, my new understanding, my new definition, and it's different from the mainstream. But it's just your presence. If you want to call that your purpose, like your presence is your purpose. It's not some like mission that you have to go and do that's going to ultimately do all these things. Like, if that happens, if your life turns out to be some kind of, extravagant mission and you're able to do all these amazing things, fantastic. That's wonderful. That's amazing. But I know several people who have had a lot accomplished in their lives, and they've been very attached to the whole like purpose thing and discovering my purpose and doing and all these yet they're never really fulfilled. They're never satisfied. They're always looking for something more to do, because they feel like their purpose or their reasoning for why they're here can expand and be bigger and better. And they're getting a lot done, but they're suffering. They're not experiencing that true contentment and that freedom and that peace. So that's interesting. I've seen that happen several times. So what if your presence is your purpose? Ramana Maharshi said, your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world. So what if, when you start to go within and you start to dissolve these things these beliefs that have been keeping you from the real you, and then you start to let your light shine and you start to express yourself, and now you're walking according to your true nature, what if that is actually the precursor to whatever flows from that in regards to serving and helping the world around you? What if it actually starts with knowing who you are first? Because that's what it boils down to, I think, in a lot of these different instances where you find these people who are super motivated and driven, and they have this purpose and this plan and all these different things. It's like the reason they feel so empty after they've been able to accomplish so much is because they don't know who the hell they are. Or they were associating what they were doing, their purpose, with their identity. And that's where they were getting caught up. Because if your identity, if who you think you are, is tied to what you're doing, it's never going to be enough, which means you'll never feel enough. And then what you're doing will just be some kind of compensation or overcompensation, which is the ego, to deal with a much, much deeper belief or feeling of being inadequate or being unworthy or not enough, or like there's something wrong with you. You'll be compensating for that deeper core subconscious belief, and that's the very thing that's actually driving your life. See? So when you focus on your own inner world and you start to awaken to your true nature, that realization, that alone is doing so much more than your egoic mind realizes, because we're all interconnected. So now that you're operating from this higher frequency, it's automatically going to be positively impacting the world around you, whether your egoic mind sees it or not, which is a beautiful thing. And think about trees. Think about a tree. It's rooted and grounded in being a tree, just being a tree, being what it is. And yet, just by being itself, it is tremendously helping the environment around it. Think about all the things that trees produce, the oxygen and all the life that it's just giving unconditionally, simply by being a tree. It's not trying to be a tree. It doesn't have some plan to do this or do that. No, it's just being itself. It's rooted and grounded in itself, and that is enough. That's nature, and we are nature. So when we become, or when we realize that we already are rooted and grounded in truth, in light, in freedom, in wholeness, in love, in possibility, then very naturally and effortlessly, we start to expand our consciousness, and our vibrational frequency is now high, and life is just flowing from us, just simply by our being. And it's the total opposite of living exhausted and worn out and striving and performing and dealing with all this inner suffering and chaos all the time. There's a flow to it. And then you start producing fruit. The tree starts producing fruit very effortlessly without thinking about producing the fruit or trying to produce the fruit. It's just being a tree, and that's what the tree, out of its being, that's what's happening. There's fruit. And in the same way, when we're living according to the truth of who we are, wholeness, fruit is being produced from that state of consciousness, from that state of being. And again, there's so much that can come from that. That is our unique blessing to the world, our authenticity, just ourselves. So what's my purpose and what do I have to do? And don't even worry about that. Start with you. Start with your presence. Start with your being, and allow that to guide you. If it means doing something or creating something from that place of being, you'll know intuitively. It will show up, and it will feel just like an extension. It will feel like a branch of the core of your being, and it will produce fruit, and that's how you'll know. So don't overthink it. Freedom is right here, right now. It's within you. It is you. And this realization is absolutely life-changing. So I think that's all I have for today. If you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.